The train whistle blew long and loud as it pulled into Copper Ridge Station. Margaret Sullivan pressed her face against the dusty window and watched the small town come into view. Her heart beat fast in her chest. After 3 long days of travel from Boston, she was finally here, finally meeting the man who would become her husband. Maggie stood up and smoothed down her best dress. It was wrinkled now from the journey. Her hands shook as she picked up her small bag. Inside that bag was everything she owned in the world. 2 other dresses, some underclothes, a hairbrush, and a photograph of Thomas Garrett, her future husband, a man she had never met in person. The train stopped with a loud hiss of steam. Maggie stepped down onto the wooden platform. The Montana sun was bright and hot, so different from Boston. She looked around at the dusty street, the simple buildings, the horses tied to posts. Everything felt strange and new. "Miss Sullivan?" A loud voice called out. Maggie turned and saw a tall man walking toward her. He wore expensive clothes and a big hat. 3 other men followed behind him. They all looked at her with curious eyes. "Yes, I am Margaret Sullivan," she said quietly. Her voice sounded small in this big open space. The tall man stopped in front of her. He looked her up and down slowly. His eyes were cold. Then he turned to the men behind him and started to laugh. It was not a kind laugh. "Boys, look what the railroad sent me," Thomas Garrett said, still laughing. "This is my mail-order bride." Nothing like the picture she sent. Maggie felt her face grow hot. She wanted to disappear. The other men started laughing too. "Mr. Garrett, I can explain," Maggie said. Her voice was shaking now. "That photograph was of my sister Catherine. She passed away last year. I was afraid if I sent my own picture you would not want me. I am sorry I lied, but I promise I will be a good wife. I can cook and clean and sew. I can read and write. I will work hard." Thomas stopped laughing. His face turned mean. "Your sister? You sent me a picture of another woman? Do you think I'm a fool?" "No, sir, I asked for a wife, not some plain girl who tricks men with lies," Thomas said. He looked at her with disgust. "Look at you. Thin as a rail, face like a horse, and a liar on top of it all." The words hit Maggie like stones. She felt tears start to burn in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Not yet, not in front of these men." "Please, Mr. Garrett," she said. "I have come all this way. I have no money to go back. I left everything in Boston to come here and marry you. We made an agreement." "Agreement?" Thomas laughed again. "That agreement was based on your lies. I do not want a wife who looks like you. I want a beautiful woman, someone I can be proud of, not some skinny little liar." One of the men behind Thomas whispered something. They all laughed again. Maggie felt something break inside her chest. "What am I supposed to do?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper now. Thomas shrugged. "That is not my problem. Maybe you can find work in town. Maybe the saloon will take you." He said the word saloon in a way that made it sound dirty. "Come on, boys. Let's go get a real drink." The men walked away, still laughing and talking. Thomas did not look back once. Maggie stood there on the platform watching them go. She felt frozen, unable to move, unable to think. When they were gone, her legs stopped working. She sat down hard on her trunk. The tears came now. She could not stop them. Great big tears that rolled down her cheeks and dripped onto her wrinkled dress. She had no money. She knew no one. She was alone in a strange place with nowhere to go. She cried and cried, not caring who saw her. What did it matter now? Everything was ruined. She should never have left Boston. She should never have thought a man like Thomas Garrett would want her. She should never have hoped for a better life. "Ma'am?" a quiet voice said. Maggie looked up. A man stood a few feet away. He was tall with brown hair and kind eyes. He held his hat in his hands and looked uncomfortable, like he was not sure if he should speak to her or not. "I am sorry to bother you," the man said, "but I saw what happened just now with Thomas Garrett. That was not right. That was not how a man should treat a lady." Maggie wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "It does not matter now," she said. "He does not want me. I should not have come." The man looked down at his boots, then back at her. "My name is Cole Brennan," he said. "I work as foreman at the Double H Ranch. That is about an hour ride from here. The woman who owns it, Mrs. Eleanor Hartwell, she needs a housekeeper, someone to cook and clean and help with things around the house. It pays fair wages. You get your own room and 3 meals a day." Maggie stared at him. "Why are you telling me this?" Cole shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "Because you said you can cook and clean and sew." And you need work. And Mrs. Hartwell needs help. Seems like it might work out for both of you. You do not even know me, Maggie said. Why would you help me? Because what Thomas did was wrong, Cole said simply. And because everyone deserves a chance to start over. Even if things did not go the way they planned. Maggie looked at this stranger. This man who had no reason to help her. She thought about her choices. She could sit here on this platform and cry. She could use her last few pennies to send a telegram to Boston, asking for help that might never come, or she could take this chance. This one small chance that a stranger was offering her. Is Mrs. Hartwell kind? Maggie asked. She is fair, Cole said. She works hard and expects others to work hard too. But she treats people right. She does not judge folks without knowing them first. That sounded better than anything Maggie had right now. She stood up and wiped her face one more time. All right, she said. I will come work for Mrs. Hartwell. Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Just Cole, he said. He picked up her trunk like it weighed nothing and started walking toward a wagon. We should get going before it gets dark. The ride is not bad, but the road can be rough. Maggie followed him to the wagon. She climbed up onto the seat while Cole loaded her trunk in the back. Then he climbed up beside her and took the reins. The horses started moving, pulling them away from the train station, away from the place where her dreams had died, toward something new. As they rode out of town, Maggie looked back once. She could see the train station getting smaller behind them. She thought about Thomas Garrett and his cruel laugh. She thought about the long journey from Boston. She thought about all her hopes and plans. Then she looked forward at the road ahead, at the big open sky, at the mountains in the distance, at Cole Brennan sitting beside her, quiet and steady. Maybe this was not the life she had planned. But it was a life. It was a chance. And right now, that was more than she had an hour ago. The wagon rolled on through the dust and the heat, and Maggie Sullivan decided that she would not give up. Not yet. She had come too far to quit now. The Double H Ranch was bigger than Maggie expected. The main house was made of wood with a wide porch that wrapped around the front. There were several other buildings, too. A big barn, a bunkhouse for the workers, and a chicken coop. Everything looked clean and well kept. Cole stopped the wagon in front of the main house. Before Maggie could climb down, the front door opened. A woman came out onto the porch. She was older, maybe 60 years old, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a simple dress and an apron. Her eyes were sharp as she looked at Maggie. This is the girl? The woman asked Cole. Yes, ma'am. This is Miss Margaret Sullivan. She just came in on the train from Boston, Cole said. He helped Maggie down from the wagon. Miss Sullivan, this is Mrs. Eleanor Hartwell. She owns the ranch. Maggie straightened her wrinkled dress and walked up to the porch. How do you do, Mrs. Hartwell? Cole told me you need a housekeeper. I can cook and clean. I can sew and mend clothes. I worked for a family in Boston for 3 years before I came here. Eleanor looked her up and down. Why did you leave Boston? Maggie felt her face get hot. She did not want to lie anymore. I came here to marry a man I met through letters. Thomas Garrett. But when I arrived, he did not want me. He said I was not pretty enough. So now I need work. Eleanor raised one eyebrow. Thomas Garrett, that fool? Well, his loss is my gain if you can do what you say you can do. You will get your own room, 3 meals a day and $2 a week. You will cook for me and the ranch hands. That is 8 men total. You will clean the main house and do the washing and mending. You will work 6 days a week. Sunday is your own time. Does that sound fair? $2 a week. That was more than Maggie had hoped for. Yes, ma'am. That sounds very fair. When would you like me to start? Right now, Eleanor said. Cole, take her trunk to the small room off the kitchen. Miss Sullivan, you can wash up and then I will show you where everything is. Supper needs to be ready in 2 hours. Eleanor went back inside. Cole picked up the trunk and Maggie followed him into the house. The inside was simple but comfortable. There was a big main room with a fireplace, a dining table, and some chairs. The kitchen was large with a big iron stove and lots of shelves and cupboards. Cole showed her to a small room next to the kitchen. It had a narrow bed, a chest of drawers, and a small window. It was plain, but it was clean and it was hers. Thank you, Maggie said to Cole, for everything, for bringing me here, for helping me. Cole nodded. You would have done the same for someone else, he said. Then he left, closing the door quietly behind him. Maggie sat on the bed and looked around her new room. She had never had her own room before. In Boston, she had slept in a tiny space in the attic of the house where she worked. This was better. Much better. She washed her face and hands in the basin, changed into her work dress, and went to find Eleanor. The older woman showed her around the kitchen, pointing out where everything was kept. Then she told Maggie what the men liked to eat and what supplies they had. Maggie got to work. She made a big pot of stew with beef and vegetables. She baked fresh bread. She made coffee strong and black the way Eleanor said the men liked it. When everything was ready, Eleanor rang a bell outside. Within minutes, 8 men came walking up to the house. They washed their hands at the pump outside, then came in and sat at the long table. Cole sat at one end. He did not look at Maggie, but she saw him wipe his hands extra carefully on his pants like he wanted to be clean. The men ate quietly at first. Then one of them, a young man with red hair, spoke up. "This is good stew, ma'am. Real good. Better than the slop Charlie used to make," another man said. They all laughed. Maggie learned that Charlie had been their cook before he left to work on a ranch in Wyoming. After that first night, Maggie fell into a routine. She woke up before sunrise to start breakfast. After the men ate and went out to work, she cleaned the kitchen and the house. Then she made lunch. In the afternoon, she did washing or mending or baking. Then she made supper. After supper, she cleaned up again. By the time she fell into bed each night, she was so tired she could barely move. But she did not mind the hard work. It kept her from thinking too much. It kept her from remembering Thomas Garrett's cruel laugh. It kept her from feeling sorry for herself. The days turned into weeks. Maggie learned the names of all the ranch hands. There was Red, the young one with red hair. There was old Pete, who had worked on ranches his whole life. There was Miguel and his brother Carlos, who came from Mexico. There were others too. They were all kind to her in their rough way. One evening, Red came to her with a letter in his hand. "Miss Sullivan, I got this letter from my ma back in Texas, but I cannot read so good. Would you read it to me?" Maggie read him the letter. It was full of news from home. His mother talked about his little sisters, about the garden, about the neighbors. Red's eyes got wet when Maggie read the part where his mother said she missed him. After that, other men started bringing her letters. She read them aloud and helped the ones who could not write send letters back. She taught young Red how to read better. She showed Carlos how to do sums so he could save his money right. Eleanor watched all of this but said nothing. Cole watched too. Maggie noticed that Cole was always around but never too close. He fixed the rocking chair on the porch without being asked. He made sure there was always plenty of firewood by the kitchen door. Sometimes she found wildflowers in a tin cup on the kitchen windowsill. She knew they were from him, but he never said anything about it. One Saturday, Eleanor told Maggie she needed to go into town to buy supplies. "You should come with me," Eleanor said. "You need a few things. A warmer coat for when winter comes, some fabric to make new dresses, maybe some ribbon or something pretty." Maggie did not want to go to town. She did not want to see Thomas Garrett or anyone who might have heard about what happened at the train station, but she could not say no to Eleanor. The town was busy when they arrived. People walked up and down the street, going in and out of shops. Eleanor took Maggie to the general store. Inside, there were 3 other women looking at fabric. When they saw Maggie, they stopped talking. They whispered to each other and looked at her with cold eyes. One of the women, a lady with a fancy hat, spoke up. "Eleanor Hartwell, is this the girl? The one who came here to trick Thomas Garrett?" Eleanor turned and looked at the woman. Her eyes were hard. "This is Miss Sullivan. She works for me. She is a good worker and a decent person. More than I can say for some folks in this town." The woman's face turned red. "Well, I heard she sent a picture of another woman. She lied to poor Thomas." "Poor Thomas?" Eleanor laughed, but it was not a nice laugh. "Thomas Garrett is a grown man who acted like a spoiled child. He humiliated a young woman in public because she was not pretty enough for him. If you think that is decent behavior, then we have nothing more to say to each other." Eleanor took Maggie's arm and walked her to the back of the store. She picked out fabric and helped Maggie choose what she needed. The other women left in a huff. As they loaded the supplies into the wagon, Maggie said, "I am sorry. Mrs. Hartwell, I did not mean to cause trouble for you." "You did not cause anything," Eleanor said firmly. "Those women are foolish gossips. They will find something else to talk about next week. You just keep doing your work and hold your head high. You have nothing to be ashamed of." On the ride back to the ranch, Maggie felt something warm in her chest. Eleanor had stood up for her. These people at the ranch had accepted her. She was not alone anymore. That night, Maggie could not sleep. She went out onto the porch to get some air. The night was cool and clear. Stars filled the sky like scattered salt. She heard a sound and turned. Cole was sitting on the steps, carving something from a piece of wood. He looked up when he saw her. "Sorry," she said. "I did not mean to bother you." "You are not bothering me," Cole said. "Could not sleep?" "No, too much thinking." Maggie sat down on the steps too, but kept some space between them. They sat in silence for a while. Then Cole said, "Eleanor told me what happened in town today. With those women. It was my own fault," Maggie said. "I did lie to Thomas." "I should not have done that," Cole shook his head. "You were desperate. Desperate people do what they have to do to survive. That does not make you bad." Maggie looked at him. "Why are you kind to me? You do not even know me." Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I had a wife once. And a little girl. Sarah and Emma. They died 5 years ago. Scarlet fever. They got sick and there was nothing anyone could do." His voice was steady but sad. "After they died, I did not want to live anymore. I did not care about anything. But Eleanor gave me work. She gave me a reason to get up every morning. She did not know me, but she helped me anyway. So I know what it is like to need help. I know what it is like when someone gives you a chance." Maggie felt tears prick her eyes. "I am sorry about your wife and daughter." "Thank you," Cole said. "It still hurts. But it hurts less now than it did. Time helps. And work helps. And being around good people helps." Maggie told him about her sister Catherine then, about how beautiful she was, about how she got sick with pneumonia and died in 2 days, about how Maggie had been so lonely after that, about how she had answered Thomas Garrett's advertisement looking for a wife because she wanted to start over, to have a family. Autumn came to Montana with colors that took Maggie's breath away. The trees turned gold and red. The air grew cool and crisp. Maggie had been at the Double H Ranch for 3 months now. She felt different than she had when she first arrived. Stronger, more sure of herself. She and Cole had become friends. Real friends. Every evening after supper, they would sit on the porch and talk. Sometimes they talked about nothing important. Sometimes they talked about things that mattered. Cole was teaching her to ride a horse. At first, Maggie had been scared. But Cole was patient. He showed her how to sit right, how to hold the reins, how to guide the horse gently. One Sunday, Cole took her riding up into the hills. They rode for an hour until they reached a spot where they could see the whole valley below. The ranch looked small from up here. The mountains rose up all around them, big and strong and beautiful. "This is my favorite place," Cole said. "I come here when I need to think." Maggie looked out at the view. "It is beautiful. It makes me feel small. But in a good way, like my problems are not as big as I thought they were." They sat on some rocks and ate the lunch Maggie had packed. Bread and cheese and apples. Simple food, but it tasted good in the clean mountain air. "Can I ask you something?" Maggie said after a while. "Sure," Cole said. "Do you ever think about marrying again? Having a family?" Cole looked down at his hands. "I used to think I could never do that. That it would be wrong somehow, like I was forgetting Sarah and Emma. But lately I have been thinking maybe it would not be wrong. Maybe they would want me to be happy again." Maggie felt her heart beat faster. She knew what she was feeling now. She had tried to ignore it, tried to tell herself it was just gratitude. But it was not just gratitude. She cared about Cole, more than cared about him. She loved him, but she was afraid to say anything. What if he did not feel the same way? What if she was wrong about the way he looked at her? What if she ruined the friendship they had? The days grew shorter. The nights grew colder. Eleanor started talking about winter, about how the snow would come soon and they would need to be ready. The men brought in extra firewood. They made repairs to the buildings. They moved the cattle to lower ground where there was better shelter. One morning in late October, Maggie woke up to find everything covered in white. The first snow had come during the night. It was beautiful but also frightening. She had never seen this much snow before. In Boston they got snow, but nothing like this. "This is just the start," Eleanor said at breakfast. "By January, the snow will be up to the windows. We will be stuck here for days at a time, maybe weeks if the storms are bad." The thought of being trapped in the house did not bother Maggie. She had everything she needed here. Food, warmth, and people she cared about. But then came the day that changed everything. Cole and two of the ranch hands, Pete and Miguel, had taken some cattle to the high pasture. They were supposed to be back by nightfall, but the sky turned dark in the afternoon. The wind picked up. Snow started falling fast and thick. "Storm coming," Eleanor said, looking out the window. "A bad one." By evening, the storm was so strong that Maggie could not see past the porch. The wind howled like a living thing. Snow piled up against the doors and windows, and Cole was not back. Maggie tried not to worry. Cole knew these mountains. He was strong and smart. He would be fine. But as the hours passed and he did not come back, her worry grew into fear. "We cannot go look for them," Red said. "We would get lost in this storm. We have to wait until it clears." Maggie did not sleep that night. She sat by the window watching the snow fall, praying that Cole was safe somewhere. The storm lasted for 3 days. 3 long days of wind and snow and worry. Eleanor tried to keep everyone busy with work inside the house, but Maggie could barely focus on anything. All she could think about was Cole out there in the cold. On the morning of the 4th day, the storm finally stopped. The sun came out bright and harsh on all that white snow. The men got ready to go search for Cole and the others. But before they could leave, Red came running from the barn. "They are back. They are coming down the road." Maggie ran outside without even putting on her coat. She saw 3 horses moving slowly through the snow. Cole was in front. He was bent over in the saddle, holding on tight. Pete and Miguel were behind him. They all looked frozen and exhausted. The men helped them down from the horses and into the house. Maggie made hot coffee and soup. She helped Cole to a chair by the fire. His face was white. His hands were shaking. His fingers were black in places from frostbite. "We found shelter in an old cabin," Cole said, his teeth chattering. "But there was not much wood. We had to take turns keeping warm. Had to keep moving to stay alive." Eleanor looked at his hands and her face was serious. "We need to get these warmed up slowly. Too fast and you will lose the fingers." Maggie brought warm water and clean cloths. She sat with Cole and carefully warmed his hands. She was crying, but she did not realize it until Cole said, "Hey, I am all right. I am here." "You could have died," Maggie said. "You could have frozen to death out there." "But I did not," Cole said softly. "I am here. I am fine." But he was not fine. That night he got a fever. His body had been through too much. Eleanor made him stay in bed in one of the rooms in the main house so they could watch him. Maggie barely left his side. She brought him water and soup. She put cool cloths on his forehead when the fever was high. She talked to him when he was awake and prayed when he was not. On the 2nd night, his fever broke. Maggie was sitting in a chair beside the bed, half asleep, when she heard him say her name. "Maggie." She sat up quickly. "I am here." "Do you need something?" "Water? Are you cold?" "Why are you here?" Cole asked. His voice was rough but stronger than before. "Where else would I be?" Maggie said. "You were sick. Someone had to take care of you." "You did not have to," Cole said. "That is not part of your job." Maggie felt something break open inside her. "I did not do it because of my job. I did it because I care about you. Because when you were out in that storm, I thought I would lose my mind with worry. Because I love you, Cole Brennan. And I do not care if I am not supposed to say that. I do not care if it is too soon or too bold or improper. I love you and I almost lost you and I cannot pretend anymore that I do not feel this way." Cole stared at her. Then slowly he smiled. It was the first real smile she had seen from him. "Well," he said, "that is good. Because I love you too." Maggie started crying again, but this time they were happy tears. Cole reached out with his bandaged hand and she took it gently. "I have loved you since the day I saw you sitting on that trunk at the train station," Cole said. "I have been trying to find the right time to tell you. The right way. I wanted to do it properly. Ask Eleanor's permission. Court you the right way. But then the storm happened and I thought I might die out there without ever telling you." "You are telling me now," Maggie said. "That is all that matters." They talked for hours that night. About their feelings. About their fears. About the future they both wanted. The next morning, when Cole was strong enough to get out of bed, he went to Eleanor. Maggie waited nervously in the kitchen. She could hear their voices in the other room but could not make out the words. When Cole came back, Eleanor was with him. The older woman looked at Maggie with sharp eyes. Then her face softened into something that might have been a smile. "Cole tells me he wants to marry you," Eleanor said. "What do you say to that?" "I say yes," Maggie said without hesitation.
If he will have me, if I will have you?
Cole laughed. Maggie, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. Eleanor nodded. Well then, I suppose we will be having a wedding. But not until spring. Cole needs time to heal properly, and you two need time to plan things right. In the meantime, you can court properly. With me as chaperone. Maggie wanted to argue. She wanted to marry Cole right away, but she saw the wisdom in Eleanor's words. They had time now. They did not need to rush. That night, there was a celebration in the bunkhouse. The ranch hands congratulated Cole and Maggie. Red played a fiddle he had been hiding. They danced and sang and ate pie that Maggie had baked, but not everyone in the area was happy about the news. Thomas Garrett heard about the engagement, and Thomas Garrett did not like it one bit. Word started spreading around town. Ugly words. Thomas told anyone who would listen that Maggie had been his mail-order bride, that she had tricked him, that she was now living in sin with Cole at the Double H Ranch, that Eleanor Hartwell was running an immoral household. Maggie heard the gossip when she went to town with Eleanor the next week. Women turned away from her. Men looked at her with ugly expressions. The preacher's wife actually crossed the street to avoid walking past them. Let them talk, Eleanor said firmly. Words are just wind. They cannot hurt you unless you let them. But the words did hurt. Maggie knew they were not true, but it still hurt to have people think badly of her, to have them judge her without knowing her. The worst part was that the gossip started to affect Eleanor. Some of the women in town who used to be her friends stopped speaking to her. People started saying that Eleanor had poor judgment, that she should not have hired Maggie, that she was too old to run a ranch properly if she could not see the truth about the girl working for her. This is my fault. Winter held the ranch in its grip. Snow covered everything like a thick blanket. The days were short, and the nights were long. But inside the house there was warmth and laughter and hope. Maggie was happy. Happier than she had ever been. She loved Cole and he loved her. They were going to be married in the spring. Everything seemed perfect, but deep inside Maggie was also afraid. The fear came at night when she was alone in her room. It came when she let herself think too much. What if something went wrong? What if Cole changed his mind? What if he woke up one day and realized she was not good enough for him? She tried to push these thoughts away, but they kept coming back. Sometimes she would look at Cole across the dinner table and think about how handsome he was. How kind, how good. And then she would think about herself. Plain Maggie Sullivan with her thin face and her ordinary looks. Why would a man like Cole want to spend his life with her? You have been quiet lately, Eleanor said one afternoon. They were in the kitchen making bread. Something troubling you? Maggie kneaded the dough harder. No, ma'am. I am fine. Eleanor gave her a look that said she did not believe that. Maggie, I have lived a long time. I can tell when someone is carrying worry. What is it? Maggie stopped kneading. She wiped her flour-covered hands on her apron. What if Cole realizes he made a mistake? What if he decides I am not the right woman for him? Why would he think that? Eleanor asked. Because I am not special, Maggie said. I am plain and ordinary. There are prettier women, smarter women, better women. Eleanor put down her own dough and came around the table. She took Maggie's face in her hands, not caring about the flour. Now you listen to me. Cole loves you, not because of how you look, not because you are perfect, but because of who you are, because you are kind and brave and strong, because you make him laugh, because you make him want to be better. That is what real love is. But what if it is not enough? Maggie whispered. Then he is a fool, Eleanor said firmly. But he is not a fool, so stop borrowing trouble. Let yourself be happy. Maggie tried to follow Eleanor's advice. She tried to let herself be happy. But the fear stayed with her like a shadow. In late January, a letter came for Maggie. It was from Boston, from the lawyer handling the estate of Mrs. Henderson, the elderly woman Maggie had worked for before coming to Montana. Maggie opened the letter with shaking hands. Mrs. Henderson had died, and she had left Maggie money in her will. $200 and some jewelry. Maggie stared at the letter. $200. That was more money than she had ever had in her life. It was enough to buy a train ticket anywhere. Enough to start over somewhere new. Enough to have choices. She should have been happy. But instead, she felt confused. With this money, she did not need to depend on anyone. She did not need to work for Eleanor. She did not need to marry Cole because she had nowhere else to go. But did she want to marry him just because she loved him? Or was there still a part of her that needed the security he offered? Maggie did not tell anyone about the letter right away. She kept it in her room and thought about it for days. What did she really want? What would make her truly happy? Cole noticed something was wrong. "Are you feeling all right?" he asked one evening. "You seem far away." "I am fine," Maggie said. Just tired, but she was not fine. She was torn between her fear and her love, between her need for security and her desire for independence. She did not know what to do. Then, on a cold February morning, everything changed. Maggie went out to the chicken coop to gather eggs. It was early and the sun was just starting to come up. The snow crunched under her feet. She was thinking about the letter, about the money, about her future. She did not hear the footsteps behind her until it was too late. A hand grabbed her arm and spun her around. She found herself face to face with Thomas Garrett. He smelled like whiskey. His eyes were red and mean. "Well, well," he said, "if it is not the little liar. I heard you are getting married." To that ranch hand Cole. "Let go of me," Maggie said. She tried to pull away, but his grip was too strong. "I do not think so," Thomas said. "You owe me. You humiliated me, made me look like a fool in front of the whole town. You need to pay for that." "I do not owe you anything," Maggie said. Her heart was pounding. "You were the one who treated me badly. Now let me go." "No," Thomas said. He pulled her closer. "I have been thinking about you, about how you should have been mine. I paid for you to come here. That means you belong to me." He tried to kiss her, but Maggie turned her face away. She dropped the egg basket and started to fight. She hit him with her fists. She tried to scratch his face. She kicked at his legs. Thomas laughed and grabbed both her wrists. "Fight all you want. No one can hear you out here. No one is going to save you." But he was wrong. Cole had seen Thomas ride onto the ranch property. He had followed at a distance, suspicious. When he saw Thomas grab Maggie, he started running. "Get away from her," Cole shouted. Thomas looked up, surprised. His grip on Maggie loosened just enough for her to pull away. She ran toward Cole. Thomas turned to face Cole. "This is none of your business, Brennan." "You made it my business when you put your hands on her," Cole said. His voice was low and dangerous. "Get on your horse and leave now." "Or what?" Thomas said. He pulled himself up tall, trying to look tough. "You will fight me?" "You are just a hired hand. I am Thomas Garrett. I own half the land around here." "You cannot touch me. Try me," Cole said. Thomas swung first. His fist caught Cole on the jaw. But Cole barely moved. He hit Thomas back hard in the stomach. Thomas bent over, gasping for air. What happened next was fast and violent. The two men fought in the snow. Cole was strong from ranch work. Thomas was bigger but slow and drunk. Cole hit him again and again. All the anger he had been holding back came pouring out.
Anger at what Thomas had done to Maggie at the train station.
Anger at the gossip he had spread. Anger at what he had just tried to do. Thomas fell to the ground. Blood poured from his nose and mouth. But Cole did not stop. He kept hitting him. His face was twisted with rage. "Cole, stop!" Maggie screamed. "You are going to kill him." But Cole did not seem to hear her. He raised his fist again. Maggie grabbed his arm with both hands. "Cole, please, stop. He is not worth it." Cole froze. He looked down at Thomas, then at his own bloody fists, then at Maggie. The rage drained from his face, replaced by horror. "I almost killed him," Cole said. His voice shook. "I wanted to kill him." Red and Pete came running from the barn. They had heard the shouting. They pulled Thomas to his feet and threw him on his horse. "Get out of here," Red said. "And do not come back, ever." Thomas rode away, barely able to sit in the saddle. Eleanor came out of the house, her shotgun in her hands. "What happened here?" Maggie told her everything. How Thomas had grabbed her. How he had tried to force himself on her. How Cole had saved her. Eleanor's face went hard as stone. "I will send word to the sheriff. Thomas Garrett has gone too far this time." But Cole just stood there looking at his hands. "I am no better than he is," he said quietly. "I lost control. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to kill him. But you did not," Maggie said. "You stopped." "That is what matters." Cole shook his head. "Only because you stopped me. If you had not been there—" He looked at her with pain in his eyes. "You should not marry me, Maggie. I am not a good man. You saw what I am capable of. You were protecting me, Maggie said. I was being violent, Cole said. I was out of control. My father was a violent man. I swore I would never be like him, but I am. I am just like him. He walked away before Maggie could say anything else. He went to the bunkhouse and stayed there. The sheriff came the next day. He talked to everyone and wrote down what happened. Several ranch hands had seen Thomas ride onto the property. They had seen him grab Maggie. The sheriff said Thomas would be charged with assault. Thomas Garrett has enemies in this territory, the sheriff said. A lot of people will be happy to see him brought down. He will probably leave rather than face trial. Men like him always do. And he was right. Within a week, word came that Thomas had left Montana. He went to California, some said. Others said he went to Texas. No one knew for sure and no one cared. But even though Thomas was gone, the damage was done. Cole would not talk to Maggie. He would not look at her. He did his work and stayed away from the main house. Eleanor tried to talk to him, but he would not listen. I need to leave, Cole told her. I need to go away for a while. I cannot stay here. That is foolish, Eleanor said. Running away never solved anything. I am not running away, Cole said. I am doing what is right. Maggie deserves better than me. She deserves a man who can control himself, a man who will not scare her. She is not scared of you, Eleanor said. She loves you. She should not, Cole said. Not after what she saw. On a cold morning in early March, Cole packed his belongings. He told Eleanor he was going to work at a ranch 2 days' ride north. He would send his wages back to help with expenses, but he would not be coming back. Maggie stood on the porch and watched him load his horse. She wanted to run to him, to tell him not to go, but she could not move. Her own fear held her back. Fear that maybe he was right, fear that maybe she did not deserve love, fear that maybe she should just use Mrs. Henderson's money and leave too. Cole climbed on his horse. For a moment he looked at Maggie. Their eyes met. Spring came slowly to Montana. The snow began to melt. Green grass started pushing up through the brown earth. Flowers bloomed on the hillsides. Everything was coming back to life. Everything except Maggie. She went through her days like a ghost. She cooked and cleaned and did her work. But there was no joy in it anymore. No purpose. She felt empty inside. Eleanor watched her with worried eyes. You need to eat more, she said. You're getting too thin. I am not hungry, Maggie said. You need to stop feeling sorry for yourself, Eleanor said more sharply. If you love that man, you need to go after him. Tell him how you feel. Make him listen. But Maggie did not go after him. She was afraid. Afraid he did not want her anymore. Afraid she had missed her chance. Afraid of too many things. Cole wrote to Eleanor every week. Short letters that talked about work and weather. He never mentioned Maggie. He never asked about her. It was like he was trying to forget she existed. But Eleanor read between the lines. She saw the pain in his careful words. She knew he was hurting just as much as Maggie was. You two are the most stubborn fools I have ever met, Eleanor said one day. Both of you love each other. Both of you are miserable. But neither of you will do anything about it. He left me, Maggie said. He made his choice. He left because he was scared, Eleanor said. Same as you are scared. Both of you are letting fear win. Maggie knew Eleanor was right. But knowing it and doing something about it were two different things. Then in mid-April, Maggie made a decision. She would take Mrs. Henderson's money and go to San Francisco. She would start completely over. Away from Montana. Away from memories. Away from pain, she told Eleanor one morning at breakfast. I am leaving at the end of the month. I have enough money now. I can start fresh somewhere new. Eleanor put down her coffee cup. Is that really what you want? Or are you just running away? I am not running away, Maggie said. I'm being practical. There is nothing for me here anymore. Nothing except a job you are good at, friends who care about you, and a man who loves you but is too scared to admit it. Cole does not love me anymore, Maggie said. If he did, he would not have left. Eleanor stood up. She looked angry. I have lived 63 years on this earth. I have seen a lot of things. I have seen courage and I have seen cowardice. Right now I am seeing cowardice from both you and Cole. You are both letting fear make your decisions instead of love, and that is the saddest thing I have ever seen. She walked out of the kitchen, leaving Maggie alone with her thoughts. That night, Maggie could not sleep. She lay in her narrow bed and thought about Eleanor's words. Was she being a coward? Was she letting fear control her life? She got up and lit a candle. She opened the trunk at the foot of her bed. Inside was the wooden carving Cole had been making that night on the porch. The night they had first really talked. He had left it behind when he rode away. It was a bird in flight with its wings spread wide. He had never finished it, but even unfinished, it was beautiful. Maggie held the wooden bird in her hands and suddenly understood. Cole had always been setting her free. He had rescued her from the train station not to trap her, but to give her choices. He had loved her but never pressured her. And when he thought he might hurt her, he had left to protect her. He had never tried to cage her. He had only tried to help her fly. And what had she done? She had been so afraid of being hurt again that she had let him walk away. She had not fought for him. She had not told him that she chose him. Not because she needed him, but because she loved him. Maggie looked at the wooden bird and made her decision. She was done being afraid. She was done letting other people decide her fate. If Cole did not want her, fine. But she was going to tell him how she felt. She was going to fight for their love. Even if it was too late, even if he said no. She packed a small bag and saddled Eleanor's fastest horse before the sun came up. Eleanor came out onto the porch as Maggie was getting ready to leave. "Where are you going?" Eleanor asked. "To find Cole," Maggie said. "To tell him that I love him and I choose him and I am tired of being scared." Eleanor smiled. It was a real smile, warm and proud. "It is about time. The ranch where he is working is 2 days north. Ask for the Miller place. Everyone knows it." "Thank you," Maggie said. "For everything. For giving me a chance when I had nothing. For standing by me. For being my friend." "Just bring that stubborn man back home," Eleanor said. "And bring yourself back too. The Double H is your home now. Remember that." Maggie rode north. She rode through the day and slept under the stars at night. She rode through the next day, stopping only to rest the horse and drink water from streams. Her body ached. Her legs were sore, but she did not stop. On the afternoon of the second day, she saw a ranch in the distance. The Miller place. Her heart started beating fast. She rode up to the main house and dismounted. A woman came out. She was middle-aged with kind eyes. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. "I am looking for Cole Brennan," Maggie said. "I was told he works here." The woman nodded. "He is in the breaking corral. Around back. Are you the girl from the Double H? The one Eleanor wrote me about?" Maggie was surprised. "Eleanor wrote to you?" The woman smiled. "She did. She told me Cole was here because he was scared. She told me if a girl showed up looking for him, I should point her in the right direction. Come on. I will show you." Maggie followed the woman around the big barn. Behind it was a corral with high wooden fences. Inside the corral was Cole. He was working with a young horse, teaching it to accept a saddle. He moved slowly and spoke softly to the horse. Even from a distance, Maggie could see the gentleness in him. "Cole Brennan," the woman called out. "You have a visitor." Cole looked up. When he saw Maggie, his face went pale. He said something to another ranch hand who took over with the horse. Then he climbed over the fence and walked toward them. Mrs. Miller quietly walked away, leaving them alone. Cole stopped a few feet from Maggie. He looked older, tired, but his eyes were the same. Kind and sad and full of love he was trying to hide. "Maggie," he said, "what are you doing here?" "I came to talk to you," Maggie said. Her voice was steady even though her heart was racing. "I came to tell you that you are wrong." "Wrong about what?" Cole asked. "Wrong about yourself. Wrong about us." Maggie took a step closer. "You left because you thought you were dangerous. Because you lost your temper when you were protecting me. But Cole, you are not your father. You are not a violent man. You are a good man who did what he had to do to keep me safe." "I almost killed him," Cole said. "I wanted to." "But you did not," Maggie said. "You stopped. That is what makes you different from your father. That is what makes you good. You have control. You just forgot it for a moment." Cole shook his head. "I cannot take that risk. I cannot be with you knowing I might hurt you someday." "Life is a risk," Maggie said. "Love is a risk. But it is worth it. You taught me that. You helped me see that I was worth more than I thought I was. You showed me what real love looks like. And now I am here to show you." She reached into her bag and pulled out the wooden bird. "You left this behind. You never finished it. But I understand what it means now. You were always setting me free, never trying to trap me. never trying to control me. You loved me enough to let me make my own choices. Cole looked at the carved bird. His eyes were wet. I did not want you to feel trapped. Like you had to be with me because you had no other options. I know, Maggie said, and I also got some money. Mrs. Henderson left me $200 in her will. I have choices now, Cole. I can go anywhere. Do anything. I could go to San Francisco. I could go back to Boston. I could start over somewhere new. Cole's face fell. Then why did you come here? Because I do not want any of those things, Maggie said. She was crying now, but she did not care. I want you. I choose you. Not because I have to. Not because I am desperate or scared or alone. But because I love you. Because you make me want to be braver. Because you see me for who I really am and you love me anyway. Because when I think about the future, you are in every picture. You are in every dream. Cole stood very still. You really mean that? Yes, Maggie said. I really mean it. So I am asking you, Cole Brennan, will you come home with me? Will you marry me like we planned? Will you build a life with me? Cole closed the distance between them in 2 steps. He pulled her into his arms and held her tight. Yes, he said against her hair. Yes to all of it. I love you, Maggie. I have loved you from the beginning. I thought I was doing the right thing by leaving. But all I did was make us both miserable. Then do not leave again, Maggie said. Stay with me, choose me. Choose us. I choose us, Cole said. He pulled back just enough to look at her face. Then he kissed her. It was gentle and sweet and full of promise. They rode back to the Double H together. When they arrived, Eleanor came out onto the porch. She took one look at them and smiled. Well, it is about time you two came to your senses. 3 weeks later, on a bright May morning, Maggie and Cole were married. The wedding was simple. They stood in the yard of the Double H Ranch with the mountains rising up behind them. The preacher from town performed the ceremony. Eleanor stood as witness. The ranch hands were all there, dressed in their best clothes. Maggie wore a new dress she had made herself. It was simple but pretty, pale blue with white lace at the collar.